the city San Diego and the GLORIA Medrano podcast. Welcome in. How's everyone doing? I'll give you guys a minute to let YouTube do its thing, warm up and notify everyone. And I'll just kind of ramble on a little bit. So we have been in a series of lessons that pertain to emotional healing, but it provides tools for everyone. This is really for everyone dealing with any kind, just the world in general, really, right? Hi, I see you there. Hi, hotcakes. So the world in general, and even if you're not a believer, and even if you are a believer. So I am a Christian teacher. I do teach on, this is biblical based teaching. So I am a certified life coach. I'm a chaplain, pastor, and have ministered all over the place already. Lived in London as a senior pastor. Ministered, all over the United States, and now I'm back here in San Diego, where I have a nonprofit called Heart of the City San Diego, and podcast called the GLORIA Medrano podcast. And so basically, now here in San Diego, what I do is a lot of community work, and then using my platform, my social media platforms, to bring awareness to how to have the tools, the awareness, the mental ability to deal with life's challenges, which we all have. There's no one exempt from it, right? So life is going to bring us challenges. What do we do? How do we navigate that? Right? So I always look at life as like a map. But in a map, there's your starting point, and then there's your destination, right? And so, but along the map, there's lots of little side roads and, twisty turns. And I lived in England, so I know that if you get off the route, and I lived in England when there was no GPS. There were no, you couldn't type in, your destination on your phone. And so basically people would use landmarks, and they would go down to the third roundabout. And then on that roundabout, go to make the second turn on that roundabout. And then when you get to that road, it's called the upper road, go up the upper road to the pub called the Boar's Head Pub. And at that pub, you're going to follow along the road, and then you're going to come to another roundabout. And at that roundabout, on the third round circle, you're going to make that turn on that road, which is called Upminster. Yeah, it will blow your mind trying to do that. And if you get off track in any way, shape, or form, and you miss the Boarhead Pub, you're a goner. That's it. There's no, you are disoriented on all those roundabouts, and you don't know how to come back. Now, thankfully, I love driving in England because I now have a GPS and a navigation system. So now, guess what? I have always had, and we can always have, a navigation system called God and His Word, the Bible. Did you know that? The Bible shows us a lot of different things about people, about life, about situations that we will encounter in this world. It talks about war. It talks about famine. It talks about, I was just listening to, my favorite church, and they were talking about, the word murder. And what does that have to do with war and people and all these things, right? So it is it is very interesting and hopeful that we have that navigation system, right? So, but I'm glad that we have GPS too. So, if you are in America and you've never driven a convertible Mini Cooper in the snow with the gear shift on the left, going down the A13 and having to have to hit a roundabout, then you know what I'm talking about. Because that is what I had to do recently when I helped my daughter overseas. Had to drive her Mini Cooper with the gear shift on the left. I was very proud of myself, I have to say, that I was able to accomplish that without dying. So we are in an area of our lesson called Steps to Forgiveness and Healing. Before we go into this lesson, which can be kind of triggering, I hate that word, triggering. A lot of people hate that word, but it can be kind of triggering. It can, strike up memories of people that really hurt you, that had caused some deep wound to your life. And I want you to know that God knows that, okay? This is not for perfection. And I'm not here to tell you this is the formula on how to become perfect. So this is not this lesson. But what I am letting you know is that God has given us grace and hope. And that, He knows that there are enemies, okay? And He knows that there are people that are evil in the world that are on purpose trying to come to get us, right? Such as war and things like that, right? So we are trying to navigate all these things on earth, right? How do we do that? Because we see all these political posts, we see all this stuff, and we get so confused because this one person believes this, and then this other person believes this, and this is for sure the way it is supposed to go. And then another person pops in and you're like, whoa, but they have something really legit to say. And you're like, whoa, okay, whoa. And all these things are swimming around in your head and you're like, what do I do? Right? Even how in the world do I vote? Right? So I would say, know your word, know your moral stance, and know your, get informed. So basically be informed, know your moral stance, know your word, make a well-informed choice. But we all need to do something about it, right? So my little rant and rave there for a second. So here we are. We looked at false benefits. How many liked that lesson on false benefits, right? So, we make choices that are bad. They're full-on choices, but we make them anyway. And sometimes they're spontaneous, but a lot of times they're not, and they're well thought out, They're well thought out in the way, how do I not get caught, right? And so that's well thought out. You had some premeditated ideas on that. And so you're thinking, we talked about King David and how King David made some choices, right? He made some very thought out, predicted choices. He knew what he was doing. He watched. He got another man's wife pregnant, and then he caused all kinds of hurt and damage in his family, right? But God still loved him, and God still called him a man after his own heart. I have a hard time with this. I know a lot of people do, especially women. But the fact of the matter was that when King David got called out by the prophet, he fell to his knees and he took full responsibility for that, said, yeah, that's me. And then, he lived his life out. But what a lot of people don't realize is that, he still wasn't a fully changed person. He's still in his deathbed. He was saying, he was calling orders out. This is how you're going to, this is how you're going to, basically calling like war strategies, right? What like a military leader would do. In his deathbed, he's calling war strategies. This is what you're going to do. You're going to, you're going to take out this guy. He was part of my enemy. So you're going to make sure that he gets taken care of, meaning, you're going to take him out, And so he's like on his deathbed telling people how to do this. And so, so that you're in the Bible, there are so many people that are just not perfect. Okay. They're not all fully good in their hearts, but they are people that acknowledged that Jesus was the Messiah, that Jesus was real, and that is who they believed in, right? So does God call us to a higher standard? Yeah, he does. Can we live up to that a lot of times? Probably not. But the fact of the matter is that, we are called to a higher standard, but we are given grace. And so in saying that, we're going to talk about forgiveness, okay? So I am not here to make you feel bad, whether you forgive or you don't, or whatever, if people hurt you. But what I am telling you is that forgiveness is not a feeling. It is just a choice that you're going to trust God in this, right? And so a lot of times people think that, because I don't have any issues, I fully trust God with all my heart. Well, I've been trusting God too for about 40 years. And what I know is that's a lie. That's not the truth. And so generally, when you're going throughout life, there will be times when you will be tested, and your faith is going to be tested, and you're going to be like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, you're going to be that tempted to be like, I'm throwing in the towel. Forget you, God. This is hard. I don't know why you put me through this. Why am I going through this? What is happening? Where are you? Okay. But today I'm still here. Why? Because I am a believer. Okay. I put my faith, not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring. I put my faith in God, right? So, hi everyone. I see you there. Thanks for chiming in. I will read your comments when I'm done with my lesson. Sorry, because I'll get like all like, wanting to read your stuff as you post, but I can see and I can read it. So I'll be going like this, okay? So here's the number one. I'm going to kind of quickly get through this because we all kind of know a little bit about forgiveness, but I want to say this to you, is that, remember, it isn't a feeling, it's a choice. It's a choice. And sometimes we really don't want to make that choice. We want to retaliate, right? We want to put our own trust in where God needs to have that trust. We need to trust in him, but we want to take matters into our own hands, don't we? And some people have, and some people do. There are consequences, though. So let me just stop and pray for you guys for just a second. Father, I just thank you for those who are here. I thank you for your Holy Spirit. Help me to teach this message. Help us through our lives. Help us in the subject of forgiveness and healing. In Jesus' name, amen. So here we are. Number one, think of a current struggle in which you experienced feelings such as anger, resentment, anxiety, loneliness, or depression. Okay? Number 1 is think of a current struggle. Okay? Which has caused you anxiety, resentment, anger, loneliness, depression. And in Psalms 139:23, it says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting." So you can go back and you can replay this, and then you can think for yourself, think of a place in your life where you have some struggle. Maybe you're like right at the forefront of your mind right now. You might be like, yeah, I'm just struggling with this. Like my boss, my relatives, and I just want to take matters into my own hands and drop kick some people. Like I want to punch somebody out. Okay, I am like fed up, and that's where you're at right now. And for others, it's man, I don't remember a time when I felt like this. Let me think back, right? And then you realize, wow, I was harboring that for a long time. Didn't realize that was there. So, progression of feelings. Okay, there's a progression of feelings which we just read. Which is, disappointment, sadness, anger, revenge, isolation, and those types of things. And these things we harbor inside, we hide them from people, especially good Christians. Good Christians go to church, and then, we hear messages over the pulpit. And we raise our hand saying, yeah, I'm the good one. I have forgiven. And you haven't. You have hidden it. Okay? And then we go home and we wonder, how am I going to deal with this? How do you deal with it? You tell the truth. That's how you deal with it. You tell the truth. You say, yeah, for reals, I am feeling really, you don't tell the truth to everyone. You tell the truth to a safe place. You tell the truth where there's, good Christian counselor available, which are, some churches, such as like Torrey Pines Church, have good people there ready to help, okay? They know how to hear your confession. There's a lot of churches that have lay people, like lay pastors and, pastors' assistants and people like that do not know how to hear people's confessions, okay? And you got to be careful with that. I always tell people that, be careful with that, because it will compound the wound and there will be more damage done, okay? Happy birthday. I see someone saying, it's my birthday, Kara. So, go to a good church, a good healthy church that has these things in place where you can talk to someone. Sometimes it just is a matter of, sitting down and talking with a special helper that knows what they're doing, and just confessing, just saying, yeah, this is for reals. Like I'm really having a hard time with this issue, right? It could be issues of war. It could be issues of, what is happening in the world. Sometimes I'm like looking at these ads that just come on my way. Somebody died here, somebody's there, somebody's in prison, war, people are held up and starving, and how do I help? What do I do? Oh my God, and I'm crying. I'm like, well, I'm watching this and I'm crying to myself and I'm going, I'm overwhelmed. I'm just the one little Gloria. How do I do all this? How do I help the world? Okay? And then I think my pride and all of my psychological ego says that I'm saving the world. I don't think so. Because some of you out there, I've heard you say that too. And no, we have a place that we can play. We can be activists. We can say what we need to say, but we have to keep our anxiety in check, our ego and our pride in check that says, I'm doing this, I can make this happen. And no, we have to give all these world matters to God and to those who are the professionals who are doing those things. And we need to pray for them. How can we help? Pray for our nation's leaders, your church leaders, your, leaders in your home, who might be your mother and your father, who might be yourself. Okay? That's how we deal with those things. Is it a lot? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, that's why we need God, who is bigger than us, who can handle it all. And we need to stop trying to act like we can do it all. We can't. Okay? Because I'm talking to myself right now, because I think I could do it all sometimes. Yeah, and I can't. So, we got that going on. That's number one. Number one is think of a current struggle. Okay. Number two is think back to a time in your childhood when you felt the same feelings you just recorded, and when you felt someone else behaved in the way you wrote on the previous page. Okay, and when you write down those things, your struggle and things like that, think of the way, think of what you wrote, think of what you recorded. Look at that, how you felt when you were writing that down. And then Ephesians 6:4 says, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." See, in Hebrews 12:15 says, "See to it that no one misses the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up and cause trouble and defile many." Okay, so this is basically protecting your children. Protecting the children. I always say, don't bring your children into adult issues, arguments and things. Don't do that to them. You see families and they're like, don't talk. That the father wants to see their child and they're like, don't talk to him. He's this and he's that and he's this and he's that. Well, was he this and that to you, or was he this and that to the child? So, just because he was this and that to you doesn't mean that you blame, that you bring the child into it. So, if, guys, hold on a second. Okay. All right. So I had to remove people. If it's boring to you, then move along to a different page. This is not for you. But for those who are watching, they're here because they want to be here, okay? They're getting something out of it, okay? And it's real important stuff. So a lot of times you got family issues. You got one relative against another relative, and then that relative is saying, "Oh, don't talk to her." You telling the rest of the relatives, and their children, telling their children, "Oh, she's this and she's that. Don't talk to her." Or don't talk to him, or no, he can't come around here, and yes, I understand if it's a protective issue and there was matters of abuse, but if there's no matter of abuse and there's just your typical frustrations and angers because, this is a person who loves their child and wants to see their child, and they're getting very frustrated because of that, then that's you provoking that. There's a difference in that. So, yes, protect the child. Don't bring children into your issues, your adult issues. You deal with your adult issues. yourselves. Leave the child out of it. So, and then number three is identify the lies from Satan you believed in the situation in your childhood. Okay. The lies that you believe, there are lies that enter. There's things that we go through, when we're children. We have had adults who are involved in the situation, such as divorce and things like that, right? You got two parents, and the children are in between, being torn back and forth, and they're just little children, and they're just going by, whoever is the nurturing person taking care of them. They're going by what that person, because that person is feeding them, clothing them, but yet abusing them, saying, bad things about their other parent. You get this kind of confusion and lie, and so the child grows up and is like, oh, my other parent really didn't want me, because that's what the one parent was telling me, the one who clothed me and fed me. Well, the other parent didn't get a chance to do that because the other parent was just, pushing them away. What are they going to do? So, sometimes it's very, very difficult situations. So, you got the child and then in between, and they're looking back and forth going, and then they believe the lie. They grow up believing this lie, but then what happens is that you've damaged this child so much that when they grow up, they don't like men or they don't like women, because of that. So then you get this big confusion of their identity and who they are. And so that's where lies start to come in to play and all the things. And if this has happened to you, there's always hope. There's always healing, but you have to go and get that healing, okay? In 1 Peter 5:8, it says, "Be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." In Genesis 3:4, the devil was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native tongue, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Sorry, this is John 8:44. So, be careful with your words and the things that you say to children. Okay, number 4. In ending in number 4, or was number 4 the end? Let me see. Number 4 is, what do we do? It's kind of like in this time of like thought and meditation and letting it sink in. Maybe things that you have said or done are sinking in. Maybe things that have been said or done to you are sinking in. Think about those things and then take it to God and ask God to help you through it. Read His Word. Go to a church. Go to a healthy church where they know how to help, though. So a lot of churches you might encounter are wonderful. They preach the word, and then that's all they know how to do. Okay? And when you go and you confess, they don't know what to do after that. They don't know how to handle it. So they're then trying to counsel you, and it's causing worse. It's causing more wounds than it is helping. And so you really have to either refer, if you're a church that you don't have that in place yet, refer to a licensed person, or have churches, that you fellowship with other pastors that that they may have somebody in their church that you can send that person to go. Please don't try to keep them in your church and, harbor them to yourself and scared to send them over to get resources and help from another church, because you're scared they might attend that church. These people are not your church, your people. So send them to where the resources could help them. And because of that, they trust you. They'll come back. They're going to go to wherever they want to go to anyway. But because of that, they're going to trust you, and they're going to want to go back to you, to your church. Okay. And so that's why other churches need each other too, because, there's an opportunity to send people. There are churches that have wonderful resources. And I grew up like, you didn't go to other churches. You didn't go church hopping, which I still think you shouldn't be really church hopping, but there are churches that have resources that you can go, and you can go to those resources. I said, I need help. Like, I need to go and get some help. And those other churches that I was in and grew up in, and that I was not getting help from that. So I needed to go and make friends, and it was awkward. It was scary. It was, hard to do. People don't realize I make it look easy, but it's hard, and awkward, and, can I do this? Can I not do that? Is it okay? Like, it was okay if I'm here, and then every once in a while, you'll be at a church, and then somebody will say something really weird, like, are you church hopping? Or, I'm a really stern believer in loyalty. You're just like, what? I'm grown. I'll make the decision where I want to go myself. And so you're just like, what? Why would anyone say that to you? And so, it's a very kind of old school, and it's manipulative, but it's old school. People don't say stuff like that anymore. Don't do that. So there's a lot that plays into this whole thing. And I'm trying to bring it all together, because you can't just go to anyone and confess. You really need to find a safe place to go and confess. And you really don't want to go and confess, all your stuff to, your best friend who doesn't know what to do with it. They're just going to be like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Can we not be friends for a little while? Because you're scaring me, right? You don't want that to happen. So you want to go to somebody who they know what they're doing, so you don't scare people and stuff, and it's like, you can't just go anywhere and just dump your stuff. So let me go further here. Number 5, write down how you practice the behaviors you confessed. Okay. Some behaviors that you take responsibility for. Okay. And basically you're writing these things down on some of your behaviors that probably are not so good, so that you can really look at what that looks like, because we think, I'm just like protecting myself, or I'm just being sassy. But it may have affected somebody in, and so you want to kind of have an awareness of what you're saying to people. In Romans 2, verse 1, it says, "You therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else. For at whatever point you judge the other, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do the same thing. Okay? That's number that's number 5. Huh. I'm allergic to something in here. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, I think we're going to kind of stop there because I don't want to get too much. Wait, let's go. Let's do number 6. Okay, number 6. Fill in the blanks with the names of the people in your struggle, current and childhood, and then fill in their hurtful behavior. When you are finished writing, read it out loud. Read it out loud to yourself. Like, read it out loud once you're finished with that, okay? There's reasons for that, because then we can really look at what's really going on inside of us, you know. Sometimes we just don't know what's in there, you know. We are reactive in certain things. Certain things trigger us. Certain things make us go, ew, like, I want to, you know, I want to tell you off, like, what, you know, and there's no need to, because they weren't doing anything to you, but that hit you wrong, you know, you're just like, why did that hit me wrong? Like, why is that a big deal? Why am I obsessing over that? Like, you know, and you see that in people at work. You see that a lot. You see that. You even see that with bosses, supervisors, and you see things that, you know, where people are overreacting, and it's not necessary to overreact in that way. And you see, like, what has caused that overreaction to happen. Either someone's been in your ear telling you stuff, you know, and now you want to see, you know, that to come to pass. And so you have to take yourself out of the picture, and you have to, you know, not see through the eyes of someone else, but see, you know, what you see and hear for yourself, you know. And sometimes you uncover a misunderstanding, you know, and you realize, oh, this is not what's actually happening. It's being provoked by something, you know. Because everybody has issues. We all have issues, not just me, not just you, not just me. We all do. We have things that we go through. So check out some of this stuff. And number 8, it is to make amends. Okay, number 8 is make amends. That's where you go to people and you say you're sorry, you know. It's cleaning the slate. It's, you know, it may not always come to a reconciliation. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing at all. You know, forgiveness is a choice that you just make. It's spiritual. It's, you know, saying, I believe you, God. I trust you, God. You know, even though everything in me does not want to do that, I'm believing that your word is true and that you are true. And making a choice is what forgiveness is. It's a very spiritual thing, but reconciliation is different. Reconciliation has to do with, you know, your morals, and, you know, are people, you know, standing to their word, that they say that they're not going to do that hurtful thing to you again, you know, whether it be what they said or some kind of action that they did, anything that what really, you know, causes you some hurt. And, that if when they know that what they did hurt them, that they feel some empathy. You watch how people act and behave. When you say, look, I'm scared. I'm really scared. You're scaring me. Right? And do they show empathy, or do they say, what's wrong with you? When you say that, what's wrong with you? You see, shouldn't be here. We don't need people here like you. That's somebody who that's a very kind of gaslighting, manipulative behavior. And so it's not to be trusted. It's not to be trusted. It is. When you see that and hear that, you need to wake up your ears to say, you can't at this point reconcile with someone like that. Now, if they say, hey, I'm sorry, I see that that's causing you some distress. How can we work past this? And you see them making effort to work past it, then you can say, okay, let's see if maybe we can come to some kind of reconciliation, right? We can come to that point, because they themselves made a choice they felt empathy for you, and they realized their behavior was hurting you, and they want to right the wrong. They want to right that wrong. But if you do not see that, you don't go into reconciliation and go into an unsafe and hurtful environment again. Even if it's little, you don't keep going towards that, 'cause that's mentally not okay for you. Okay. That's mentally not okay for you. So if you want mental well-being, then you got to look for that. Are people being empathetic with each other? Do people come themselves to say an apology? And I don't see that a lot. I don't see that at all, actually. I don't see that at all. People do not come forward themselves to apologize. You have to say, I demand an apology. And that's the world that we're in today. It is insane. So, but watch for those things. So, forgiveness and reconciliation are different. So, in order to reconcile, you want to see people, if you say this and that, whatever, this has caused some real hurt for me, some real trust issues, and now I'm scared. I'm scared of you, right? Then if they don't come and say, oh, I don't want you to feel scared, if they say you're so stupid because you're what are you scared about? You're so, or they kind of belittle you because of that. That's somebody who's got some pretty big issues. Okay, so you got to be aware of it and protect yourself now. Protect yourself now. Okay, you don't let them come back in and come back into your come back in with an ability to hurt you again, So, but a lot of people don't know how to work the process through that. Okay, not in the workplace, not in the home, not in a lot of places. So, so be careful with those things. And but when you go to someone, you're going to tell them, hey, look, I'm sorry. It seems like I may have hurt you. You did hurt me. There are some things that you did that caused a lot of damage, caused a lot of hurt and distrust. And see how they respond to that. How do they respond to that? In Revelations 3, verse 20 and 21, here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him, and he with me. To him who overcomes, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. And number 9, in your own words, write a quick prayer thanking God for his work in you today, okay? Thanking God for his work in you today. It might sound like this. This is an example. Lord, thank you for showing me I am critical and unappreciative. I really want to work on this area, so I will not hurt others and myself. Also, thank you for your guidance and for wanting to heal me from my sins. Amen. Okay? All right, we're going to stop there. That's a lot. There's a lot in that, okay? Let me read some comments here. I've got some people, I guess, I'm all the way at the bottom. I don't know why I like to start at the bottom. That's not fair to the ones that were commenting at the top. But okay. So, Weird TX, I'm glad you know that. Why are you here? Why are you here? I'm glad you know that. So I'm here for those that don't know that. Weird TX, whatever your name is. Does Jesus live every though? I don't know. Levi, Jesus loves you. Yes, he does. Let's see. Hi, Rems. They're saying, I'm just joining. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Appreciate that. Mary Guild, walk away from bullying. Oh, because Charlie's asking, how do I handle getting bullied? I'm probably not a good person to ask that question. I grew up in the 80s. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. I'm not a good person to ask that question about bullying, but you might want to ask somebody who didn't grow up in the 80s. Basically, what they will tell you is put some boxing gloves on. So the way that my dad handled bullying is, we didn't have access to a boxing ring, and he knew he was dealing with a bunch of kids, so he couldn't really get involved, fully, because of course these were teenagers, 16, 17 years old, which they're not adults yet, but they're they are young men. So this one time, it was about 5 boys were trying to, they were actually trying to jump my brother into a gang. And apparently he had got jumped in. We didn't know. And then a rival gang came, and that rival gang came. I lived on a private hill, so I lived on a private hill, and you know, my dad was an ex-convict and a biker guy, so he kind of, you know, he already knew the ropes when it came to like gangs and stuff, and he didn't want us in the gang. So basically, these boys, we found out that my brother had gotten jumped in, and then the rival gang was trying to come and get him, for the fun of it, you know, as they do. Apparently, rivalry stuff was flaring up, but these were just the younger generation of these gang members. These weren't the main, you know, what we call the main veteranos or the main older guys. These are the young guys, just new to the thing. And so they were retaliating, about 5 of them, and they came up the hill, and at the bottom of the hill, they had hit my brother with a baseball bat, okay? So he came up the hill and he was bleeding. And so we laugh about this. I know it's not okay to laugh about it, but we laugh about it today because what else are you going to do, right? What else are you going to do when you tell these traumatic stories? So he basically was a bit disoriented, and then my dad kind of, you know, shook him up a little bit and said, hey, get yourself together because these boys are coming up the hill. So the boys came up, and they were trying to start a big old fight right there. So my dad basically, he stopped all of them, and he said, nah, you're gonna fight my son one-on-one because he's already disoriented. So he's gonna fight you guys one-on-one, and then you're gonna leave him alone after that, okay? And then just the way that my dad said it, you know, was you were going to listen. There was no other choice. You were going to listen to that. No other choice. And so basically that had happened, and my brother had to fight those boys while he was disoriented after being hit in the head with a baseball bat. They left, but they also then came back again. They came back again and tried to retaliate again. And then when they tried to retaliate again, my dad then went to their father, one of the boys' father. We found out one of the boys' father, and went to the father, and we don't really know what happened. But all we know is that there were words, and then there were no more retaliation, no more issues at school, no more nothing. All the bullying had stopped, and there was no more of that. So the same type of thing happened to me. I got jumped a couple of times at school. Bullied a lot. I was bullied pretty much every day from elementary school. It kind of stopped a little bit in junior high school. But every day of my life in elementary, I was bullied. And then junior high school is when one of the gangs they wanted to jump me into the gang. And I couldn't. I was like, I can't. I'm not allowed to. I'm not you know. How tough am I? I'm not allowed to. So they didn't jump me, but a rival gang thought that I did, because rumor had it that I was or something. I don't know what all that happened. I just know that the rival gang, I wasn't jumped in or anything, but the rival gang, they came and they jumped me, this rival gang, and the same type of thing happened where there was intervention that took place at school. There was a teacher who was part of the he was part of like the Chicano Federation type thing and all thing. I always describe him being this kind of Carlos Santana from the band Santana kind of presence. He's very Chicano, and he basically was helping people to be friends with each other. So he kind of intervened, and this girl calls me and she apologizes to me. And no one taught me how to accept an apology. I didn't know what to do. So I just said, oh, okay, yeah, I accept your apology. And it's both of our faults because we were both, sassing at each other or whatever, And so we just dealt with it like that. I don't recommend that, but that where I lived and how it happened with us, there was no choice because people were coming after us. And there were no choices but to defend ourselves. So I don't recommend that, but I recommend that, getting other, community involved that teach intervention, that teach on, how to not just help the victim, but also help the bully to understand what the bully is doing to a person. Because the bully doesn't really know. The bully is just acting out of what they've learned, probably at home. And so they don't know the extent of their hurt and damage. They're just trying to provoke fear because that's what they know, all that they've learned. They don't have communication skills. So get the whole community involved. Hi, Sambu. Hi, Charlie. So little Junior, I don't read the comments while I'm teaching the lesson. It's kind of, obviously, I'm not going to read the lessons while I'm teaching read the comments while I'm teaching the lesson. Mary Guild, I'm praying for you. I pray for you, blessings and peace in Jesus' name. Little Junior, thank you for popping in. He says, I'm new here. All right, let's see. Okay. Somebody's saying some strange things. Okay. Some people are trolls. Oh, August. Thank you. Thank you for reporting Charlotte. Thank you. Oh, somebody's Hoop by Faith. Okay. Oh, thank you for telling people no cussing. Hey, no cussing, they said. All right. All right, good. Okay, so yeah. So what is my credential? I am a licensed and ordained pastor. I'm a commissioned chaplain. Okay? You want credentials? All right. So, all right, guys, I have to go. I still work a regular job and I got to get going. So, man, you guys are awesome. And I hope that some of this stuff helps. I'm sure that it is helping. But next week, we are still in Oh no, we're going to be over here. We're going into we got to get past this part. Okay, it's a really long section normally when I teach it, but on social media you can't do the same type of teaching because it's not the same. I have to kind of shorten it down. So we're still doing the same thing, but it's a bit kind of to the point. So next week it is on fear. Fears could be like, legit fears, or it could be irrational fears. But we're gonna look at fears. That's the next one. So we're in that section now. All right. So let me pray for you, and then we'll go. Oh, let's go down to the bottom here. All right. Hey, Nick. Okay, I love Big Max says, can you give my brother a shout out? He's autistic. Hey, Nick. Wait, what's the name? Nick. Yeah, sometimes I don't know if you guys are trying to trick me or what, trying to get me to say something. All right. Okay. I just pray for all of those who are viewing in right now. I just pray, Lord, that you just touch lives, help people, and help us to forgive those who have caused, hurt in our lives. Help us to give that to you and let you handle it. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So again, guys, forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. Forgiveness is spiritual. It's a choice. You say, hey, I'm trusting you, God. I'm going to forgive. I'm going to let that go and let you handle it. Okay. Reconciliation is, hey, are they apologizing? Are they making conscious efforts to have empathy and change the hurtful behavior? Okay. Are you seeing them do that? Are you seeing that take effect? If not, then you probably don't want to reconcile with somebody who doesn't show any kind of care or empathy for you. Okay. You want to be around people who care. And sometimes you see this at school, at work, and things, and you can't escape them because you got to go to that school, you got to be at that job. And you just, do your work and don't play around with those people. Don't be their friend. Don't give them information. Don't, just be business. Be all business. Be all business, and don't be any, I'm still like, hey, I hold my own because I've been doing this for 40 years. I still care about people. I still, bring, muffins and treats and, candies, chocolates, not candies. These are grown people. I'm still like a mama to people, so I still care about people. I still hope for change and hope that people will, show some change. Sometimes people show change, but it's manipulative change. Okay. There's no remorse to you. There's no, you were the person that they hurt. There's no apology to you. There's no saying, hey, I was wrong in the way that I said that or something. People really need to tell you that and say that, take responsibility for that. Sometimes people do it because they're in trouble, so that you see people change and, you see them, making different efforts because they're in trouble. But it has nothing to do with you. They don't care about you. they're in it for their own. So you have to know what's going on, okay? And that's okay. If that's how they are, they're showing you how they are. They're showing you who they are and how they are. So you just take it as it is. That's what they're showing you. So you don't give any, you just leave it at that. Let them do their thing. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to demand a, apology. I demand an apology. I am not the one that goes around demanding apologies. I just say, hey, you showed me who you are. I'm good. And just be quiet and walk away. Be quiet and walk away. There's no need to argue. There's no need to do any of that. Unless you need to talk something out, then you have to say something. You have to get work done, or communicate, or school, with a teacher or a principal or whatever. You have to say something. Then you say something. But and if it's not going to go anywhere or do anything, I just shut up and walk away. You are not my friend. That's what I'm saying in my head. I just walk away and I'm like, you are not my friend. You're not my friend. And I just think to myself, it's your loss. Your loss. You're not my friend. So, and that's basically what I tell people. Sometimes I have had to tell people that. I've had to say, you're not my friend. You're not even my friend. And then you don't hear from me anymore. You just don't hear from me. And you just have to do that, because there's no, people show you. Watch their actions. Watch what they do. Watch how they are. Okay? And test it a little bit, If you're a woman and, and there's a guy, women just like, they automatically play into it. Like, I'll do whatever you want. No, don't do that. Don't be like that. Like, if they want you, they need to show you. Like, they need to come and do some things, and if at that moment you're not accepting, say like they're like, hey, can I take you out this day or whatever? And you're like, I didn't know that you were going to ask me out, so I have plans. I'm sorry. I got things to do. Don't change your plans. Go through with your plans, and hey, like, and if they don't like it and they stop, like trying, then they show you who you are. They show you what they're all about. So, just leave it at that. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. Just, hey, we're cool. We're good. That's it. Because that's, but if they keep trying, if they like you, they will keep trying. They trust me. And that's a good sign, actually. That's a good sign. And they should want that, and you should want that, like that. If it's a mature type of thing, because if they like you and they're a good person, then they're gonna know that. They're gonna say, oh, this is a good person, so I'm gonna keep trying. But if they're not after anything good, they're gonna make it. They're gonna actually gaslight you. That's what they will do. If they're about that, they're gonna gaslight you as though you should have said yeah the first time, or you should, it's your fault, or I tried and that's it. No, it's not it. That's not. You go on, go do your thing, but it's not gonna be with me. So hey, if you want that advice, that's what you're gonna get from me. So, but a good guy, he will keep trying. If he likes you, he will keep trying. Okay. He will understand that you shouldn't be easy. He will understand that. You shouldn't be easy. You should be respectful to yourself. And he will like that. If he's a good guy, he will. But if not, and he's about something bad, then again, he's gonna gaslight you. Okay? Look it up, Google it, you know, say, hey Google, what does it mean to gaslight someone? All right, I gotta go to work. I love you guys. Peace out.